Hey, so I wanted to make this video to kind of explain why I'm making videos. The first video that I made was basically just me and my feelings around getting my first testosterone injection because I was really excited about that. I also didn't have much time to edit it or anything, so I just put it up. I'm 1 week on T now, and so I've calmed down a little bit about it, and I wanted to make a video that talked about what the heck I'm doing. So basically, straight up, I don't really want to focus that much on physical transition stuff. What I really want to focus on is the emotional and social side of things. The reasons behind that are basically that I don't see a lot of that kind of documentation on Tumblr or on YouTube. It tends to be very focused on the physical for female assigned at birth trans people. For male assigned at birth trans people who go on hormone replacement, they tend to talk more about the emotional side of things, and I think that that's because of the men don't talk about their feelings, etc. And I think that's bullshit, and I think it's toxic, and I think it's also really not helpful. I identify as non-binary, and so when I was thinking about going on T, as well as thinking about the physical changes, the emotional and social changes were also a very important part of medically transitioning. So what I want to talk about is actually what it means to be a female assigned at birth non-binary person and to transition. As a bit of a baseline, right now in society I'm usually perceived as a very young boy, like around 14-ish. My brother is 14, and when we go places together, people assume that we're around the same age. The issue that I have though is that I go to uni, and because there aren't any 14-year-olds at uni, or well, at least not that many, I get misgendered because people assume that I'm a sort of like masculine of center woman, and I find that very difficult to deal with, and so I combat that by coming out as trans, and my pronouns are he, him, his. So I usually just say, you know, I'm trans, my pronouns are he, him, his, do you know what that means? And most people do know what it means, thankfully, because it can be very difficult to explain that to people, to explain like my transness, and often I just allow people to believe that I'm a trans man because it's easier. If people only have like a very basic binary understanding of gender, I alone am not going to be able to radically alter their worldview by coming out to them. Honestly, it's probably just going to result in me getting misgendered, so I just don't really bother like giving them the nitty-gritty details of my gender. So what I hope to achieve by going on T, as well as obviously the physical changes, is just being able to pass within society, within, you know, those types of interactions where I don't need to announce my gender, but just being gendered as a man will be easier, I guess. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with that. It took me a really long time to decide whether I did or didn't want to go on T, not really because of the physical changes, although there were some that I did hum and ha about, but because I am a very political person. I strongly believe in anti-assimilationist politics, and so being visibly trans and queer is very important to me, and I was worried that by going on T and transitioning medically, I would not be as visible. The issue is that I do have quite bad physical dysphoria, and so that kind of wasn't enough of a reason for me to not go on T. The way that I think that I will combat that at this point is by just coming out as much and as often as I can in as many circles and places as I can where it's safe, obviously. So that's kind of my plan right now, and what I want to document really is how that goes, how I feel about that stuff, and I just want to put it out there so that other people can see it if they are non-binary and if they're thinking about transitioning. Obviously, being white and somewhat financially stable and being in a university environment and being in Australia, all of these things allow me a fair amount of privilege, and although I actively work to recognize my privilege, I can't change that is the place that I have in society, and so obviously that is the way that I am experiencing going on T and being trans and, you know, being out and stuff like that. So that is a thing. Also, being female assigned at birth, it is easier to be out as trans, I think, because masculinity is seen as the optimal thing. All of the positive personality traits, I guess, in Western society are seen as male traits, so it's easier to transition to being seen as a man in society than the opposite, because femininity is seen as lesser. And so because femininity is seen as lesser, transitioning from being perceived as male in society to being perceived as female in society gives up a lot of those privileges. I am aware of that, and I don't ever want to say, you know, if you're a male assigned at birth person and you're non-binary and you choose to go on HRT, this is what your experience is going to be like. I can only speak for myself, and yeah, I just want to like put that out there. I'm not trying to speak for everyone, I'm just speaking honestly from my experience and my point of view. So that's pretty much about it. I just wanted to cover basically, that I want to talk about my experience of being on T, how I'm perceived in society and what that means for me and how it affects me and all of that kind of cool stuff. I'm also going to talk about any emotional changes that I have. I'm not really expecting to have that many. I know that might be a little bit controversial, but a lot of the people I've seen go on testosterone who become more aggressive or more assertive or things like that, I think a lot of it has to do with confidence, feeling more confident in yourself and stuff like that. I'm a pretty confident person already, and so I don't think that going on testosterone will really change that. It will obviously make me feel more comfortable and confident in myself, but in those other things, I don't really think it's going to have that much of an effect on. Trigger warning, I'm going to talk about sex stuff now. So I've been on testosterone for 1 week and my sex drive has shot through the roof. I had a pretty medium sex drive from what I could tell before. Yeah, it has resulted in me like thinking about sex more and stuff like that, but it's not like uncontrollable. It's not like I'm losing my mind. That might change, I guess. I don't know. That's really the only like mental or emotional change or whatever that I have experienced so far. And obviously I was expecting that. I was not expecting it to be this intense. For me, it has been quite the experience, I guess. Yeah, so that's really the only thing that has changed. I'm not having another testosterone shot for 2 weeks, so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen between now and then. So that's pretty much it. I'll make another video next week. Bye for now.